Смотри, жюри чуть-чуть подальше, а участников я думал где-то вот здесь посадить.
Посадить, да?
Да.
Давай сюда. Слушай, надо как-то, чтобы комфортнее было.
Да.
Я предлагаю, может...
Ну, просто им нужно, чтобы они их вроде с одной стороны видели. Давай вот здесь их просто посадим. Или это назад, может быть.
Да, ну что-то двигается. Осторожно, только провода.
Да.
Ну, можешь, конечно, спросить.
Вот я думаю, что здесь, если они все сядут.
Сюда, может, спиной. Давай как инженеринг менеджер спиной ко всем, чтобы не отвлекали. И просто сюда...
А чего? Чего? Они друг на друга будут смотреть.
Да, но смотри, они будут друг на друга смотреть. Инженеринг менеджер, задача, у него и так стресс,
Давай.
знаешь, что он контролит, да, и вот. И как бы...
Да?
Сюда.
Да. So, please join us. We are starting.
Я, короче, просто, чтобы моя идея, чтобы инженеринг-менеджер не отвлекался.
А где тут?
Что зрители, это надо там перформить, на ходу там импровизировать. Нет. Да, согласен. So, how about a group exercise?
Ready?
So, first of all, did you have fun?
Yes.
That's also important part.
Was it challenging for you? Did you have some challenges? Nice.
So, did you learn something about yourself and about others? Yeah. So we practice it in a safe environment, in a small group. And as I see after like few rounds, you know each other and you can play, and we were discussing like with Igor, like you can even ask to play mean, so your partner will help you with the really hard conversation, and then later you are fine with any kind of conversation. But now we got idea to help you to see and learn together. And as we announced it, we have three, how we call it, feedback givers. So they're not judging, they're not jury, they're experts who've been through this conversation themselves. Please take your seat. Each of them have a special kind of angle of view. And Alec, maybe you can remind people with kind of angle of view.
Yeah, so let me just start with angle of view, and then I will just tell you how we quickly agreed to change a little bit the format. So Alex will take care about the product side, so he will relate more from this perspective. He can tell, can you tell me like things that you will be looking for?
Sure. So I'll be looking for things that are more on the business side, so how much money something might cost, how much I might bring, what the impact will be on the user, and on the customers who are paying. That'll be a bit of my angle on this.
And Magda more from the people coaching side, because she was working, how was the team? Like, no, HRs, don't call them HRs any longer. It was a people team. So, like, what are the things that you will be looking for?
Yeah, I mean, basically, like, this, what started this framework, starting with the heart, you know, how much are you prepared to enter a conversation that is human, that is about reconciling together on the one hand, on the other hand, empathy, about understanding the other perspective, maybe also the part of safety of the conversation with the engineering manager and the counterpart should both contribute to providing a very safe environment to create an agreement together. Basically those.
And Tom will be like a manager of the engineering manager, maybe not direct. So he'll be like a tough guy here. And what are the things you'll be looking for?
So I think we'll all kind of go the opposite, because I always believe that some of the best skills you can have as a technologist is to understand the business better and to actually counter your positions rather than more look at how you really go to understand the other side and then figure out a way how to find a solution that works.
Nice, nice. And the change that team just started to announce, I just want to make it clear. First, we thought it's like a competition to find who is the best among, like who won it. But then we decided, hey, we are not like, it should be a little bit different format, so it's more about feedback. And you still will be able to learn more by observing how others are playing. What we also need, so we have Augen, Holland, and Evgeny playing. Augen will be the first, Holland then, and then Evgeny.
And they're volunteer. Thank you.
Yes. So please join us. What we also need, we need a sparring partner for him. So who was the toughest sparring partner? Tell me in your teams.
So not from their group. That's the idea.
Yeah.
So they will meet another counterpart.
Maria? Okay, who would like to be?
Yeah.
Join us. So we also thought about maybe sitting in such a way.
It's fine because
fine.
otherwise
Then-
it will be
then
really hard
let's,
to hear.
yeah, I think we just need maybe to arrange it a little bit. And you can also sit here.
So make yourself comfortable.
Where will I sit? I will sit here. I also want to enjoy it. Yes.
They will announce.
So they will be playing a case EM versus CPO, which is Chief People Officer. And they do have 5 minutes for that, not 4 as before, but 5. Give me a second. Are you ready? Let's start.
I saw that you kind of added an iOS while you're looking for your team, right? Yeah, that's the best we have right now. I'm struggling with one of the people, one of the person that is leading my team, which is really pushing me. Yeah, really control. Sorry, which role is that? It's a senior engineer, senior engineering software, right? Perfect. But some people who just applied and they started the recruitment process. They're going through the personality tests.
Okay.
And they had the results, and we're still checking if it's a good fit or not.
What is a good fit for
For their personality.
but I don't think we have that process in our team.
Yeah, we just introduced it. It's a new, I think we want to make our workplace the next workplace for the future, to bring the best generation for employer branding, want to build the best team, and we just started doing
Can
that.
you let me know, like, I think I'm not aware of this whole personality test that you're talking about, and I think currently in our team, we are in a big hurry because I am also running an initiative where I want to do the first conversation to the offer in within 1 week. So I think we have a conflicting initiatives in mind. And to be honest, I was not aware of your initiative. And since I'm hiring really critically right now, since the person is leaving really soon, so I would like to collect your insights and form like reach a solution for this whole issue.
Yeah, I understand. Like you wanna have as a smooth onboarding as possible, right?
No, it's not about onboarding. It's about
While the
hiring
person is
the
leaving,
person.
yeah, right. I see. But we want to distribute the personalities properly in our company so that we have a range of new perspectives, and this is really important.
Yeah, I think I totally acknowledge that is important, but honestly speaking, right now this is not the time to do it because these things are generally done when there is no war. Like, you talk about new experiments and developments when there is no war. This is a war scenario in my team right now.
Okay.
Right?
I wasn't aware
I know. So I think
We need a warrior.
yeah, you need. I know. I don't need a warrior. I think
Warrior
this
personality
this
is the best,
the whole scenario is already a lot of there are a lot of moving pieces, and I think one more moving piece won't be really helpful for my team right now because we have factors like critical project, critical delivery, lack of engineers, one engineer leaving the team, and then also onboarding the new engineer. So you have 5 challenges with us, and you are bringing the sixth challenge, which can actually slow down all of the 5 things. So I would really recommend you maybe can find some other team, or we can actually arrive at this process a little later in my team. I think that would be a good middle way
I
between
see.
the whole scenario.
What if we staff your team with someone else internal, but the person we're recruiting still has to go through the personality test?
That can be a solution, but I'm not sure what are the dynamics of it, because when you say we can transfer somebody internal, it's actually same thing for us because our tech stack is very different from the rest of the company. So for us hiring an internal person versus a new person, it's like the same. So I would really want to hire a new person so that they can be more cultural fit for my team, and then after we are in a stable state in my team, we can introduce the process that you're
And what
talking
is the
about.
cultural fit for your team?
A really technical person.
That's not,
Yeah,
that doesn't have to do anything with
yeah.
culture.
Right now we are very
Really?
mechanical, but to be honest, we already have a round within our team, which is called a team round, where the engineers talk to their counter future counterpart themselves, and then they decide if they would be happy to work with the person. So I think we already are doing the cultural fit implicitly, even though it's not a company process, but we are doing that in our team. So I think this round may be repetitive for the round that we are already conducting. So I would recommend maybe delaying this, and then we can like arrive at negotiation later. How about that?
Okay. I see. I mean, if the goal of the personality test is to build the best teams, if you already know what's best for you,
Yeah.
we could do something like that.
Yeah.
But we really want to know about the personality test. They
Yeah.
could skip that, or
No,
maybe.
as I said, for now we don't have the bandwidth to do that, but definitely in the future we can arrive at some
We
negotiation.
can do the personality test, but if they are good technically, they're hired independently of the results of the personality test.
Still, I won't recommend it because it will waste time. Because as you said, there are two personality tests. One is 1 hour, and then one is 75 minutes, right? So it can actually lead to a lot of delays. And as I said earlier, we are supposed to hire within 1 week from interviewing to offer 1 week.
Okay.
So when we talk about 2 rounds, they can do, in best case they will take still 2 days, and we already have like 4 rounds. Doesn't fit.
We can do it later then.
Thank you a lot.
Thank you so much for.
And now we have 2 minutes for each jury to give a feedback. Sure, I'll start. So it was really back in that first, like, you put a lot of passion into getting your site across, which I think was really good. What I would have liked to see a little bit more was bringing it back to some of the business goals.
Sure.
Because between different departments, the one thing that everybody can share is that the business should be a success, and then money is really important for making sure that a business is a success. So the 1 week was an anchor point, which is also in the description of the task as well. And I think just bringing it maybe a little bit more like we aim for a week, because it's a really competitive market. If we lose a candidate, that means that this costs us quite a lot more, and that may be a way that you can get a little bit more acceptance also from your colleague who you're working with as well, because it's the head of people or chief people officer isn't going to suddenly say like, money's not important for the organization. We don't need to worry about that. Whereas maybe if you can bring it back to a little bit about the cash, then that can help a lot.
Makes sense. Yeah, this would have really made my point stronger. Definitely.
But yeah, you got your point across very powerfully. It's good. I wouldn't like to be in a negotiation with you.
All right, so you did very well. I think you were all the time very confident, very clear about what your goal for the conversation was. You made it also very friendly, even invited the CPO in a very joking way, to break the ice. And I think that wins a lot of points and a lot of sympathy to come together. You also address very clearly the think about the factors that are critical, so that the CPO gets more understanding about your position. What I'm not very clear about is like how much you were willing to understand the CPO's position, understanding, for instance, and this is maybe what I would miss, that you will be more curious about like what is the what is the goals for this test, what is what we want to find out
Sure.
through that test. Can we provide that in a different way? Is there any, because this is a matter of time. How can we create something similar, but that it doesn't take so much time, so that you are more proactive into the reasons why they want to introduce it. Other than that, very good. And again, trying to move her more into your direction and finding a common ground from common objectives.
Yeah, definitely.
Yeah.
I think I assumed a lot of things. I should have clarified more. Yeah, thank you.
Yes, but it was a lot of time, a very short period of time to cover all of that. But great job. Very confident and very kind. That's important.
Yeah, so I think it's always different in a situation like this versus the real world, right? So I think it's hard to really, this is a practice environment in the real world. A different scenario, maybe have a coffee or a drink or having lunch together or whatever. So it might be a bit different. But I think that it came across to me as a little bit on the confrontational side. And I think it was to this point of, I heard you kind of list well, we need this, 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 but there was no kind of like, okay, help me understand your side. What is it that we're trying to achieve here, and how can we then? So it's kind of like what you still need to keep in mind in these situations is that at the end of the day, you're still working in the same organization, and that to find a solution is ultimately what you want to do. And of course, you want to try and drive your point of view forward. But I think that it's always good if you can try to relate to the other person, understand it, put across your point of view, and then see. Actually, a trick can also be that you can put it into the challenge of the other person to find a solution that works. You say, well, hey, look, from our perspective, we need this 1 week time, otherwise we lose candidates. And I'd also say bring data to the argument, because it takes away the emotional impact. You say, well, look, our data says that if we're longer than this amount of time, we lose candidates. So how can you help us from the people organization to stay within that timeline, but yet still achieve your desires on the personality test? So I think that I think could have been an improvement there, but it's always very hard in this situation, right? To do this is probably the first time you've done it in this environment in the time pressure. But yeah, good effort, and always hard to be the first to go, I guess, as well.
Yeah, thank you so much.
Thank you.
And we need, so the next one is Holland. Who would like to be his sparring partner? I can be. Where do we have the second microphone? Second microphone. Yeah, who is the microphone?
Yeah.
What's your name?
Yeah, it's difficult to find a black on black. I even have a name.
Okay,
Taylor.
yes, Taylor. Hope it's not Swift. Okay, so maybe the one that we have.
Who can check the time, please? Put 5 minutes. You can start?
Yeah, maybe for everybody. The case we have is convince me if you can. So the situation I have here is I'm a new senior engineering manager who just joined a fast-growing company, and I have an interim director who disagrees with me in terms of the practices that we are having. So from my perspective as a senior engineering manager, we have quite a lot of practices that I would like to challenge to improve the performance of the team, whereas my interim director feels the other way, that we have to introduce more. And we already had some heated exchanges also in public debates. So which is
it's a public debate right now. Holland is presenting things about different modern engineering practices, how they influence our company performance, and we're starting this debate.
Okay, well, just for the sake of correcting, sorry for correcting. My name is Cholan, pronounced
Cholan, yeah.
Cholan.
Sorry, man. It's Cholan,
No
yeah.
problem.
Cholan. Yeah.
Okay. Hey Taylor, how are you?
All good, Cholan.
Well, I have a couple of things to talk to you about. So now that you are taking over the role of covering up for my director as well, I have a few things to talk to you about.
Go for it.
Well, of late, what I've been noticing in our team is that there are a few practices that I feel are not better suited for this situation that we are currently in. I would really like to change some of them.
And what would you like to achieve with it?
So basically, what I'm currently seeing is we have a little longer development practices. So which means the time that we take to deliver our value is generally longer because we have some redundant practices. For example, like introducing user acceptance testing. And in some cases, there are also not quicker feedback loop from the customer or from our internal users, and that prolongs our delivery time. And in addition to that, we are not really agile in the agile world. Although our practices are so-called agile, we're not really doing the agile ways. There is no continuous delivery. There is no continuous deployment into what we are trying to put in. So I think for a company like us who's growing faster, which is our USP currently, this is not really aligning with our goals. So what I would like to change is basically take out some of these practices like longer testing cycles, user acceptance testing, and so on, because this is really redundant for now, and rather introduce other practices that are good in software engineering paradigms and being more agile. For example, introducing pair programming. So these kind of things can help us deliver value faster. What do you think about it?
Listen, you said so many things. I would really ask you to just like be more structured. What you really want to have for me. I still didn't get. So, team delivers, everything is expected, business is happy. What's the reason to change anything? Who cares about this user acceptance testing, where it was done? Everything works as well. What's the problem, man?
Well, yes. So just because everything is going well is not entirely meaning that we are also keeping up our momentum. Like I said before, what I would also say again is we are a fast growing company. We have a good momentum. Yes, things are going well today, but with our delays in our processes, it may not necessarily mean it is the same momentum, same speed, same fast that we have, the growth that we have also for the future, right? So we are slowing down because of the practices. I see potential that we can amplify this even further, that we can also go into the level of market leaders in this space. Although we are a small company, we are going fast, we are growing fast. So, but then these practices are holding us back. It's more like an anchor. So what I would really like to say here is, why don't we just break free of our shackles, our anchors, and move forward? I see potential to grow further. So which means, yeah, you also mentioned that I spoke quite a few things. Maybe let me break it down for you to see if that
Can
makes
it
more
be
sense.
shorter?
Of course. Of course. Some of these things that I'm bringing forward is to really push ourselves into the future, right? So which is why I'm trying to take my time to explain. Let me go concrete. So I see longer testing time. So user acceptance testing is really not getting us further. And I'd like to change that.
So how much money will we get more? Like how many features will we deliver more? Like what is the cycle time change will look like?
So today on an average, our UID cycles are lasting for up to 1.5 to 2 weeks, which is almost like a sprint.
Amazing. It's
So
exactly less than a sprint.
it's a complete sprint just for testing. So what I mean is, I'm not saying quality is really important. We have to test it. We have to have the acceptance.
Did you have any problems with bugs?
In user acceptance testing, I normally do not see a lot of bugs, rather change requests. So what we are doing is, imagine we're taking a week or week and a half just to test user acceptance testing. And eventually the users come back and say, you know what, I would probably like to have this differently, but it's a requirement. That was the original requirement. We implemented it. Now it's changing. So it's more of a change request. I would like to iteratively work on it rather than treating it as a bug fix. So it's really not a bug fix.
Yeah, and
right?
what's the reason you're talking to me about it and not to a product manager?
Well,
I mean,
currently,
is she agree with you, or like what's the problem?
unfortunately, product manager is out of office currently, and I did have some conversations, but they're also of different opinion, which is why I would like to first get your buy-in, talk to you, understand your perspective, and then bring them together on the table and talk about it.
For me, it sounds like we're solving the problem that doesn't exist.
Well, like I mentioned before, yes, we don't see it as a problem today, but I'm looking at the future. Probably our business may slow down as it probably doesn't. So these are all the symptoms that we are having today, which may turn into a problem tomorrow. and I really see a potential here. Yes, maybe it's not a problem today.
You see, you're coming to me without any numbers, without any like explanation of what I will get from it, because I will need to. Good, good job. I was trying to be hard for you.
It was.
Yeah.
Thank you.
It's just like no one volunteered. I didn't want to do it. You okay?
Yeah.
I just like we just had a negotiation battle, and I was like competing with a guy who was like expert in that area, and he got mad because like emotional.
Okay. No, of course, that's.
And I didn't want it to do, but I just like wanted to be like a good sparring partner.
It's still a very nice conversation. So yeah,
Yeah.
I love the conversation. Thank you.
Sorry.
So yeah, fantastic, fantastic effort, and you had a very difficult partner as well to argue with. I think where Alec was coming from was a little bit what you might expect from somebody whose responsibility is as your boss, and we're here to solve our boss's problems. And at some point, I sort of got this feeling that you were almost in charge of him, which I can imagine wouldn't always go down particularly well. And one of the areas, I thought it was good that you were mentioning getting things out to the users quicker, being faster in that way, and maybe bring it back to some of the goals that you know that he would have could be a good method. And sort of coming back to this, well, if we can get things out to the users quicker, then that can help. I would have liked to have seen a little bit more you asking him what he thinks some of the issues are in the department, and then perhaps a little bit softer going into, okay, I've noticed these things, we might be able to make this one change, or might be able to make these two changes. Whereas sometimes it came across as, I want to take over the department, and this is how I'm going to run things. So, but yes, tough in front of everybody as well. You're a really tough partner too.
Thank you.
Okay, so my feeling is that you were like way too much into defending your point, as opposed to trying to find like a common ground to move forward, but more like he was challenging and you were all the time defending, and I don't think that that's like a dynamic that will bring to the results that you're looking for. Also, what I observed is like you were like, hey, I see the potential. This will probably, always about the possibility instead of like bringing some facts based on experience or based on some studies or things like that. One of the things that, for instance, of course, you didn't know that Ali was going to be sitting next to you, but part of this exercise is understanding who is your counterpart. You need to understand. Who is going to be sitting in front of me, and let's say for the sake of this exercise you could have sensed, okay, this guy is kind of dry, this kind of like the facts. You really need to speak a very similar language, yeah, kind of understand am I going to convince, because this is about convincing, what convinces this person, and based on this personality, which is very dry, is very much fact oriented, you cannot talk the way you did. I think you need to mirror a little bit the person you have in front of you and find a way to go to the point, be very clear, ask questions about what they want to see, and then based on that move step by step, but always trying to speak a language that is very close to what the counterpart, especially if it's like a decision maker. So that would be like a thing, showing more hard facts with persons like this.
All right.
Yeah, and in general, go more to the point. I know that this is a hard one. It is a very, very hard one, but again, it's about practicing and preparing prior. Okay, how can I say this in the most simple but clear way, so that I'm more like doing a ping pong and not like a thing where I'm just throwing a lot of information and the other is not really interacting with me in the way I want. So too friendly is not too good also.
All right, thank you. Those were some valuable points.
Yes,
Really
sometimes
appreciate
you just need to be like really a little bit more serious, and this requires also a little bit this emotions regulation. We can be kind, but still deliver what we want to say without always smiling. That doesn't always help, and I say it from my own experience.
Okay.
Hmm?
So once again, like the first situation, right? It's very difficult because you're given this in the context of this evening. You can't prepare really. And I think the difficult one with this one is very opinion based. So it's one opinion against the other. So it's then very hard to win an opinion point of view. It's like wise to say that his point of view is not valid as well, right? So I think that if it was outside of this evening, yeah, my suggestions would be you put it down on a PowerPoint, right? You stick to the top 3 items. So even if you've noticed 10, just stick to the top 3, and you try to suggest that you're going to change one of them, yeah, so that you can gain the trust. So try to show that you can influence one of those points, right, the top one of the top 3. And also, I would typically go into such a conversation, and I would first start with a question. So I'd first say, hey, have you noticed anything, or do you have an opinion on X? Yeah, just to see what you're up against. You know, if you don't know what the other person's position is, because they might actually already be on board with you, they might be completely against you, right? They might have actually put the existing process into place. Then you know you're going to have to approach it slightly differently, because otherwise it's going to feel like an attack. So often I would just go in and ask firstly a question, okay, what you observed, or what's your opinion of our current process? Yeah, just to see what the state of play is. Then keep it to the top 3, like I said, try to solve the first one. And also another thing is that some leverage is to maybe link it back to strategic goals. Say, hey, as you know, our company, one of our top 1 goals is to improve our performance, you know, excellence. So in that nature, I've looked at these things, I've noticed these things, you know, and I really need your support because I want to make an impact. I'm here, I'm new, I've seen things outside. So try to also go in on that angle as well. But it's a difficult situation. You did well. You stayed to your side. Yeah, keep it going.
Thank you very much. Those are all valuable points. Okay.
Quick question. Yeah, please. He made you an offer, an invitation that you could have taken. I wonder if you see that. You asked about data. You come to me without the data. Why? Or would it be another time to use that? Like, yes, I want to have the data. Let's try this. So that you take his attack and use his energy to get your own goal.
Now we're talking about Aikido, right? Yeah. But thank you once again, and for everyone. So you see, we are learning. Some of you been through this, and you do it like intuitively. Some of you, and this is where I want to remind. So you see how much preparation Alec mostly actually put into this case. So we have this framework, and now if you observe and just watch this framework, actually you can notice, oh, there was maybe not enough, what you said, like not enough opening with the heart, like what do you think about this, and so on. Some kind of explore other paths, and that makes sense. That's one. Second, if you read the case, actually the case has some answers. Like, for example, why Taylor has agenda. And of course, like in real life, you will prepare, because you see the case, like Taylor was interim, so recently promoted, definitely not feeling safe about this position yet. And then definitely maybe was in charge of installing this process, and now someone says, oh, this process has to be improved. Why? It's the best process ever. Try to convince me, and so on. So at home, you will have a lot of unpacking. I think we still don't know how to make it public unpacking. We still think about kind of making some articles or maybe some kind of like media cases. If anyone has idea how to do this, please come to us. Good. One more time.
And you know what? It was a lot of insights for me sitting here in this chair. So I really would like to welcome with that, who we have next? Evgeny.
Yeah.
Please come. And who would like to be his sparring partner and to learn a lot as well.
Maybe not that challenging.
You just need to be tough.
And
I was playing really nice.
You can play nice. Please, anyone help Evgeny. Again, do you have a friend in the room? Ask someone to help you.
I'm afraid to say so. Like I really like Alex in this role, but I would be wasted by such an role right now.
Okay.
But if you like, you can also try to do this.
I mean, does anyone want? Tim, would you like to?
Yeah, I can try. I actually don't remember the case.
I didn't tell the one.
Which one?
Yeah.
Copilot. Oh yeah, and I will be this engineer who doesn't believe in chat. I had this case in my real life, but it's not about me, so it's not my case.
Yeah, I actually mixed the one. I thought I proposed the other one about the EMPM. If you like, we can go with this one.
You can go EMPM.
Yeah, let's go with
Yeah.
EMPM mid-quarter prices.
Alex, this is special for you.
Okay. Give me a second. I quickly read
sure.
it. I'm a product manager. Okay.
Yeah, that guy.
Yay. Okay.
You can start.
Yeah, hi Tim. So long time no see. As you know, I was on vacation, and this is our first meeting after my vacation, and it looked like we need to discuss a couple of points. I heard that we have a new, very promising client, which require a new feature to be developed, and it requires to be developed now. And this is exactly the topic I would like to talk with you about. So I would like to know what happened during I was on vacation, and I heard that there are some questions or unclear things that I believe we need to talk about together with you and decide how we will go further.
Yeah, it's good that we met. I didn't know that you're on vacation. So, we've planned this Q3 thing, and, we have these objectives. And so we've done plan, and you've been in the room with engineers, and we agreed on certain features. So you understand that we have kind of pressure, and my director of product was communicating the vision that we need to go live by the end of the quarter, and it's coming soon. And we agreed on certain features, and then while you've been on vacation, some of the engineers, they say, oh, we didn't plan this, and they told me that it's a new feature, but as for me, I think we agreed it was part of the planning that we've done together.
Yeah, that's good that you mentioned this new feature, and this is exactly what I want to talk about with you. So initially, it was estimated by tech lead while I was on vacation to take just a couple of days, but eventually estimation was increased, and now our engineering department estimates it to be 20 to 30 days. And as you know, we already planned, as you mentioned in this meeting, altogether this quarter. And you remember the quarter was absolutely full, like 110%. It was full with features. We are on maximum of our capacity. Yes, we do have some some possibility to take very small features, like the ones which will take 1 or 2 days. But definitely, no one thought about possibility that we would have that big feature, and there is no possibility to squeeze this inside of current quarter without compromising any other priorities. So I gathered actually this meeting to talk up exactly about this point to understand how better to proceed in this situation.
Mm-hmm. Okay, so just reminder, so you remember this town hall with director of product saying, because we have this deadline end of the quarter that we need to go live, and our stakeholders, our board will really look at our ability to go live at certain dates. So if we promise, we deliver. And that's why, like, it's non-negotiable deadline. And also, as for the features, we communicated this already. We communicated this to our enterprise clients that we will go live with 1, 2, 3, 4. And as I can see, it's still 1, 2, 3, 4. But what you and your team tell me is that it's like something else. So for me, it's one of them, just maybe different. So yeah, we can discuss what to do about this. But at the same time, I believe we planned this together. And then for me, it's kind of misunderstandings that coming from engineers, and like, you see my situation. I cannot change deadline.
Absolutely.
I cannot change the scope, or at least I cannot change the high-level scope.
So we have limited amount of resources, limited time, and we need to do something with this new unplanned feature that was added in the middle of the quarter. So my suggestion in this situation would be we need to either compromise the scope or compromise with some features that we will postpone to next quarter. Would any of those suggestions work for you? So can this big feature be postponed, or we rather postpone one of the features we previously announced that will be released in this quarter? What do you think about this?
We promised this to clients, so we have this enterprise B2B clients, and like if we don't go live, they will probably cancel. Like I think we need to go live. You say something about resources. I really don't want to deal. It's your job, and just can we go live with this for that we agreed on, and you find out how to do this.
The thing is that amount of resources is something that everybody in our organization needs to be aware of. We simply cannot add just some arbitrary amount of features each quarter. We cannot add like 100 new features with a given amount of resources. So we need to prioritize, and we need to choose which client or clients more important to us in this situation.
Okay, I hear you. So definitely this feature is important. My feature is important. So definitely let's talk to director of product. What other clients we can sacrifice?
Sacrifice.
They wanted to be nice.
Yeah. I'm a product manager. What other? Thank you.
Very nervous experience.
Yeah, thank you. And this is just put it somewhere. I think this thing makes people nervous. Yeah.
Evgeny, you might use some comments. So you just I have been in this situation a number of times, usually from the point of view of the product manager. And I also have a lot of empathy, of course, for what it feels like to be an engineering manager in this position as well. I like the way that you remained calm, and you gave the explanations as well that this is the number of resources that we've got. This is how we're working, and this is the reality of the situation. I think that's really important. You were really sticking to that reality, because in that situation, it can be so easy to be like, yeah, sure, I'll just see what the developers can do. And that would certainly be something that I think your product manager would then use in the future potentially with you. I'd have liked to have seen a little bit more mirroring as well to understand where the product manager is coming from, because occasionally it would feel a little bit like you were sort of repeating yourself, and rather than repeating yourself, it could be quite good to say, yes, I understand this is a promise that we've made to a number of customers. However, the situation is this. We need to work out a way in which we can cause the least damage, or find a way that we can speak to some of the customers potentially, because very often what does seem unmovable is actually something that if you sit down and work with the customers, they'll be okay with something coming a little bit later. Another point would be there was an assumption that you were making at one point where you said we can't just add new features into the backlog or into the current planning. I think that was actually something that your product manager here was saying that was already planned. So a little bit more listening as well, and sort of respecting the process that's gone on so far, I think would have made you get on a little bit better with the product manager as well. But really good. You, I think, stuck to where you should stick to as an engineering manager, and just making that bridge with the product manager would be the next step.
I try to give few hints, so if everyone notices, so it's like from my point of view, there were no new features. It's what engineers tell me is something new, which is the case. I was exactly on this place 2 years or 3 years ago, and the product manager was behaving more like I try to behave. And at the same time, it's like, where's the problem come from? That's what you're asking, like, to understand where this new feature appears.
All right. So from my point of view, you are very good at going to the point. You have this facility to, or this capability to be very clear in explaining your point. What I also liked was that every time you propose something or you were clarifying your point, you ask for this person's opinion, and I think that's very beautiful because you are kind of involving them into your proposal. Would this work for you? This shows a lot of empathy and a lot of common ground, trying to find common ground together. Also, I found that you had a very proactive approach and also providing the facts. I think you were doing that very good. Also, mentioning about the resources. So I think this is a very crucial part about being more clear about the resources, not only about this idea or that, but more involving what others want. The point of view mentioning about the priorities, I think that was also very key, and that was something that I appreciated. And you're a master about controlling your emotions. I mean, if you were nervous, I mean, it was not clear at all.
I will never play poker with you.
Yes. Yes, yeah. So, but on that note, maybe a little bit of emotion would encourage more human connection to build a relationship. So this is like another note aside from the purpose of this exercise, because in the end, it's all about how we connect with humans. And the more we connect with humans, then the more we can, play together and make it fun as well. So maybe try to see if you can explore that with curiosity about yourself. Other than that, good job.
Yeah, so I equally quite liked how you stayed calm through the conversation and that you proactively made suggestions, right, and proposals. I thought that was very good. I think it's quite difficult in an engineering manager role because everyone who typically gets into that role as a first step thinks that their job is then to protect the team, which is somewhat of a bit of an anti-pattern in that actually, yes, you're there as a funnel, but actually exposing the team to some of these challenges is important so they understand the pressures that are coming, but not to the breaking point. So I know we're not meant to defer the discussion to anyone else as part of this, but a typical thing could be, hey, look, let's get a couple of people from your team, my team together, and let's try and figure out a way that we can solve this together. Yeah, we slice and dice and stuff, and we explain why there's the business criticality of it. And then you gain understanding on the developer side, and you're not just dropping them in it, but at the same time, you're not being the bouncer on the door. You're not coming in no matter what, right? Which is, I think that's one of the nuances of, as you go into a leadership role, it's not just about, directing tasks to people and then being like the person who's defending your team. It's actually about seeing the bigger picture and balancing out the different things that are pulling the team and trying to find a way that makes it smoother. I see it more as like you're the oil in the machine, right, in the engine to make it go smoothly. And I think that I think you played that very well in terms of making those proposals. And I think that in the real world, we would have then gone to the step of, hey, let's get our heads together, let's get a couple of team. Want your client to be served, to be happy. At the same time, we've still got to hit this, so let's figure out a way to make it happen. Good job.
Thank you. Thank you for being here. Sorry, a bit tired. Yeah, and if anyone wants to discuss it further, I think now we're about to finish with the official part. There are definitely a lot of insights, as Alex said. Like I learned myself a lot. Just before you go, just maybe 2 minutes.
Yeah.
Closing part. So before you go, before you disappear, the last 2 sentences. So first of all, there's a feedback form at the end. Now it's electronic. Previously it was in paper. Some of you've seen it. Now you can fill it online later, and there are literally 2 questions. Because we are still experimenting, we learn where to go next, what kind of exercises to do. We really appreciate your feedback, what you expected from this event and what you got. So this is the main important organizational part. Also, another main part, we're looking for the place to the next event. If any of you have some place, or maybe you know someone who know someone, just contact us. And last but not least, we now have a LinkedIn page for this, so you can follow the page. We will post from the page and then share, because previously we invested zero in marketing, like Alec, myself, sharing in our network, and then we have people here. Thank you. Thank you.
And in addition to everything what Tim just said, the way we are growing is through our network. And I really hope that every one of you got at least one insight here, something that you learned. We have Kartyan, who did amazing job with photos. He came, like his train was cancelled. He was taking a card of his friend to come from the place where Tesla factory is to take those photos, and I really appreciate it. And the reason we're taking these photos most probably tomorrow, correct? Or the day after tomorrow? Like you'll be able to choose one of them, for example, where you are, I really hope, or where I am. And then you can post them on a LinkedIn with one of your insights and link just to us. This is like, if you like it, we would really appreciate if you will support us with that. So thank you a lot. Thank you for our first reason feedback givers. Thank you for those volunteers who was sitting in front of us. And thank you for everyone who came and made this event.
Thank you. And thank you for volunteers who helped to organize all this.
Yes,
so
I forgot.
The team is
Sorry,
growing.
guys. Yeah,
You're welcome to join. Yeah. That's it. Official part is over. We are not kicked off, right?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
So we still have time for informal conversations if you want. But if you want to go, see you next time.
How was it for you, to be honest?